Let's start at the top, though. Please state your name.
Braden Giacobazzi.
Can you spell that for me?
Yeah, sure. Braden Giacobazzi.
All right, I'm going to have to do that again. Giab.
Cob.
Giacob.
Azzi. Double Z.
Got it.
Do you need my lanyard or not?
No.
Okay.
Fine. You're a resident of Michigan, right?
Correct.
Okay. And for approximately how long?
I mean, I've lived here since junior high, but I've been back and forth for college and some jobs, but at least probably 10 years.
Okay. How many consecutive recently?
So I lived in Orion for 3, and I was in...
Sorry, I'm not from Michigan, so it was Orion here in Michigan.
It's like an hour and a half away, yeah. It's north of here, near Auburn Hills.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably consecutively 12 years.
Okay. And you are over the age of 18?
Correct.
Okay. And did you personally witness all the events we're going to talk about today?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Where were you on November 3rd?
So I was only there on Wednesday. I was only at Cobo on Wednesday.
On November 4th?
Yes.
Okay, and you were where again?
At Cobo, or TCF Hall, downtown in Detroit.
Okay.
So I got a note. So what happened was I went to bed at like 4:30 in the morning on election night, and it looked like Trump was up by like 9 or 10 points, and it looked like he had a solid victory, and I thought, okay, well, that was it. And I woke up, he was losing, and I had a message on my phone from one of the political groups that I am subscribed to on Facebook, and it said Trump, not Trump, but they found like 35,000 ballots. We need people to come down here now to help validate this process. And so I'm not part of the GOP. I'm unaffiliated,
okay.
But because I saw the message from them, that's where I went to get my lanyard and get certified to go in.
Okay. What time did you get there?
It was late morning sometime, probably around 10, 11, something like that. I didn't say 10, probably.
Okay. What time did you leave?
I was escorted out around 8:30, so I was there for maybe 10 hours. Maybe 9, 10 hours, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't looking at a clock.
You said about 8:30?
Yeah.
At 39?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was your role when you were there?
So I was there as a ballot challenger or a poll challenger.
Okay. What did you witness when you got there?
So when I got there, the first thing I witnessed that was odd was that when I walked in, the lady that checked me had a Black Lives Matter face mask on, and when I got inside, they checked my affiliation and everything, and I signed in, and immediately you could sense that it was tense in there, and that there was contention when the people saw the GOP lanyard with several people, not everybody. When I first got in, I was near the front of the room. I can't remember what table, and I'll get to that later, but it went pretty well for a while. There was contention. It was contentious when they saw me come up because they didn't want me looking at the table, but I'm a pretty calm guy, and we worked it out, and my job was to look at the ballots and just make sure that numbers matched each other. On most of the ballots, unless it was a military one, I couldn't even see who was being voted for.
Okay.
Right? all I was doing was trying to see if the names matched and if the numbers matched. A lot of the times you couldn't see the name, it was going so fast, but I could check the numbers and see what I could see. And so I would step in, try and look at the envelope, try and look at the ballot, make sure things matched, and do things like that to try to make sure that the process is going properly.
And were you supposed to be able to see that information?
Yes. Yeah, we were told by our lawyers that we were supposed to see it. However, whenever you go to a new table, it was like nobody had informed the people at the table, and they would always challenge you and try and tell you to stay 6 feet back, stay 6 feet back. And as the day wore on, a couple hours in, I was moved to another table, or I chose to move to another table because there weren't a lot of people in the back, and I had another guy fill mine. And during the afternoon, at some point, there was a ruckus, and I was in the back, and I came up front, and all the doors had been locked, and the windows were being boarded up. People were locked out, and they were pounding on the windows. And I was told that somebody had come in and said there was something about COVID and there were too many people in here, and everybody had to go. And so from that point on, I could tell that something was odd about this, but I went back to my tables, and throughout the day, it was more and more contentious with the people that I would sit at the tables with. I would try and step in, and immediately throughout the day, I'm not going to say, not everybody was like this. It was many, maybe most, but definitely many. Many of the people running the tables, as soon as you would step in, they would wield COVID as a weapon in order to force you to stay away from the table. And they would step in front of you in order to make sure that you couldn't see what was going on. And then they would debate with you of whether you were allowed to be there. And then you'd have to go grab a lawyer. And in the meantime, the ballot would have gone through and you would miss what was going on. And if you could find a lawyer, but we didn't have enough of them, then he would come over and explain to them that that's what was supposed to be happening, that it was my right to do that. Now, throughout the day, you would hear the entire room erupt in clapping and laughter and snide remarks, curse words at certain tables. And I wondered why that was, and I asked somebody, and I was like, what's going on? Why is that guy being called out? And it was because he was a GOP staffer or a GOP challenger, and they found a reason to kick him out. What I experienced throughout the day was, it was like they were professional agitators trying to come into your space and get you riled up so that you would give them an excuse to be kicked out. And all that you were trying to do was look at the ballot that was in front of you. But because when you're 6 feet away, you can't read what's on the ballot.
So you were prevented from seeing many
Multiple
ballots.
times throughout the day. And I heard many stories from other people that that's what they were experiencing as well. And throughout the day, you would hear these uproars of cheering and laughter and all that. You're in a room that's supposed to be unbiased, and these people at these tables are handling probably the most important thing that happens in this country, and they all seem to be on one side. They all seem to be ready to cheer as soon as a GOP staffer is kicked out of the room. And everyone that I saw got kicked out of the room seemed to be a GOP staffer.
Did you see any Democrats get kicked out?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, I would see multiple Democrats at a table and nobody would yell at them. Right? The limitation was one conservative, one GOP staffer. But by the end of the night, I mean, there could be multiple Democrats at a table, and in addition to that, there were these independent, quote unquote, lawyers that were there. And so I would start up casual conversations with them and say, okay, cool, where are you from? There were lawyers and then law students. And they would say, oh, I'm an independent, whatever. And I would say, oh, well, what do you like to do? Or what are you going to law school for? Where do you want to end up? And invariably, they would give me an answer that suggested that they were a far leftist. I remember multiple people telling me, I can't wait to go to Seattle and work on behalf of people in the Chaz Chop in that kind of a vein. I remember talking to another independent saying that she liked the viewpoints that were going on in Brooklyn because they were very progressive and things like that. And they liked the idea that you wouldn't prosecute people for rioting, right? So that suggests that they are far leftists, posing as independents. And I met probably 10 or 12 people like that were all claiming to be law students or lawyers or independents of some kind.
Okay.
But that's kind of an aside.
I just was curious, did you point out that Chaz Chop in Seattle was shut down months ago?
I'm the one that brought up Chaz Chop. I said, oh, well, what do you think of Chaz Chop?
Oh, okay.
And then they would say, oh, I think that was really great.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. I mean, I was just having a casual conversation trying to understand what does an independent mean here? Because there certainly weren't a lot of GOP people. That was another thing I noticed from the beginning, was that we were understaffed to begin with. And as the day went on, because the doors were locked, the windows were boarded up, they weren't letting people in or out, it was like they were picking us off. Mm-hmm. And as the day went on, there just weren't enough of us to man the tables. I'm told there's 160 tables in here, or sets of tables, 160, 166, something like that, right? And throughout the day, we would just lose more and more people. And so by the end of the day, I was trying to run between multiple tables, and I was in the back of the room on the right in the 80s section, the 86, 87, 81, around that section. And those tables were very contentious. They would try and hide the ballots. They were frustrated that you were even there. They were kind of insulted that you even questioned what they were doing. They look at your lanyard and roll their eyes, right? Why are you here? And eventually I was able to make a rapport with most of them, but by the end of the night I was at, I believe, table 86 or 87, and they, at this point in the night, for some reason, they got a stack of ballots that, it was about 35 of them. I counted them quickly on the table. There was about 35 total, and they had a pink sticker on them, and they were challenge ballots of some kind, but they were counting them anyway. And you could see on the computer screen that they were just entering in a birth date of 1/1/1900 for all of these ballots. And so I said,
He's the ones with the pink sticker?
yeah. And so I told them, what are you doing? What's going on here? I wasn't told that this is okay. And how do you know that this is the person that he says he is? What are you checking it against? And for doing that, I was rewarded with somebody yelling at me about COVID. Don't be close to the table. Get away from us. And then it was the end of the night, and there was something about this table that was special to these people. I don't know, but I was swarmed by about 5 or 6 people that all appeared to be leftist operatives, and I got shouted at and yelled at by multiple people, right, saying, "Get out of here! COVID this, COVID that. Your mask isn't on right. Don't hold your pen that way in front of me, because it's dangerous." All kinds of nonsense. And I said, "Excuse me, sir. I have the right to be here. I need to be able to see the ballot. That's all I'm trying to do here, right? I'm just trying to do my job here, and I know that you're trying to do yours, but I need to step up here 6 feet, 6 feet. It was just 6 feet every time." And so Andy, who you'll probably see in a minute, he went and got a lawyer for me, thankfully. And the lawyer came eventually as we were debating, and which I shouldn't have to do. And so now I have the table supervisor there, the whoever her supervisor was, and then multiple operatives. And throughout the day, none of these people would ever tell you their name. They would never tell you their affiliation. They would never tell you if they were Republican, Democrat. So you never knew, even though there was supposed to be a Republican or a Democrat at each one of those tables, no one would ever tell you. They would stonewall you. But they would always ask you who you were and force you to show you the lanyard, which I had no problem doing, so I did. But there was a clear one-sided view from all of these people, and we were the enemy to them.
So were the lawyers required to have credentials?
Everybody had some kind of a lanyard on,
Okay.
right? Yeah, but I don't know what was on it, really.
What about these independent guys that you kept running
They had
into?
some kind of lanyard on as well. There were law students from U of M. I know I spoke to several of them, and actual lawyers as well.
Okay.
At least that's what they claim to be, right? I mean, how would I know? But yes, that's what they claim to be. So at this table, one of the other things that happened at the same table was that there was a mismatched ballot. And so the number on the envelope did not match the number on the ballot. Now, I'm an unaffiliated guy, and I'm not a GOP member. I only had the lanyard because that's how I got trained, so that's how I went in.
You were trained by the GOP?
Yeah, so I was trained by the GOP to do what I was doing there that day. But I couldn't see whose ballot it was. I couldn't tell if it was a Trump or a Biden ballot anyway. So I was challenging it was an honest challenge because I couldn't even see who that ballot was for, and the numbers didn't match. And so I said, so I let it go through because I wanted to see if they would pass it through and just let it go. The manager of the table wasn't there supervising the people at the table. And so I knew I wasn't supposed to talk to anybody at the table, but I said, "Hey, can you hold on to that until your manager gets back because it's mismatched, because otherwise it would have gone through." And immediately I got the COVID thing. I got you're trying to kill my people here, and then all of a sudden the manager shows up, and there she is, ready to yell at me too. And then I'm saying, "Look, it's just a mismatched ballot. I don't even know if he's doing it on purpose. I'm assuming it's just an accident. I just needed to check this." And in the meantime, 5 or 6 people swarm me. Andrew's there. We get the lawyer there. The guy pushes me a little bit, gets me away from the table, says, 6 feet, sir, 6 feet. This is the manager's manager now. And then his manager, or I assume. And they're all getting up, trying to strong arm me, shout at me. And so instead of, so he pushes me, and then he says, 6 feet, sir. And then he keeps getting closer to me, so I have to keep stepping away, right? So that I don't get 6 feet in front of him. And I say, "Look, sir, I'm just trying to do my job." And the lawyer comes and he says, he's just trying to do his job. "Everything he's saying is right, sir. The lawyer is telling him this." And he starts arguing with the lawyer as though the lawyer doesn't know what he's doing. So these people were intentionally lying to everybody at the tables all day long about this COVID thing and how you can't step up to the table all day. And even when a lawyer was there, they'd still argue with them. So while they were doing that, ballots were going through, and I said, "Look, you guys debate that. I'm going to step up and look at this last ballot because there's another one coming in, and I need to look at the numbers." So I looked up, and that was when he said 6 feet, get away, and he started, he pushed me back, and then it was like he kept coming at me, and he said, you know, something about playing with him, and something to the effect of, I will kick your ass, or I will kick you out of here.
Who said that?
The supervisor. He was like a 5'10" black guy, and I said, are you threatening me? And nobody seemed to hear me say that, or him, and so I said it louder. I said, are you threatening me? And he repeated it a couple times. You know, I will kick your ass, or I will kick you out of here. And he was like waving down a cop to come over. And then the cop came over, didn't question anything, which it seemed to be the MO for the whole day. And then I peacefully went out. I peacefully got escorted out. I grabbed my jacket. I told Andrew, hey, here's my number. Here's my paperwork. So I don't have any paperwork to show what I did. I don't have any video or photo evidence because they said they'd kick us out if we did any video or
Do you have your credential?
Yes, I have my credential.
If you would, please, can you just walk up and hold it up to the camera?
Sure. Can you?
Oh, yeah, I guess I should. Yeah, that should be perfect. I'll take another snapshot when we get done.
Okay. So I think, I'm trying to remember if I'm forgetting anything.
Did you see any paper on the windows or anything covering the windows?
Absolutely. Yes, there was cardboard covering the windows, and I also noted there was also a bin that appeared to have a bunch of empty ballots in it in the center of the floor.
Okay.
And it seemed odd, but I didn't question it because this is my first time doing this stuff, and it seemed weird, and it seemed kind of stupid, but who am I to question the process?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was another thing that I noticed as well.
Were those ballots being guarded?
No, I don't remember that. I don't think so.
Okay.
Or if they were, it wasn't obvious.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
Just trying to walk through the sequence of events. I think that kind of gets it. I think the most telling thing was the way that the whole place would cheer as if on cue every time one of us would get kicked out. And when I got kicked out, the same thing happened. The whole room cheered, clapped, said snide remarks, and said, yeah, get him the hell out of here, fuck that guy, stuff like that. And then I was out.
Did you feel intimidated when you were there doing this?
Absolutely. That was the entire goal of some of the people. And not everyone, right? There were, like I said, one of the first tables I was there, they were contentious at first, but then it was fine. We were good for an hour or two. And then, you know, depended on the table you were at, and it seemed like it was much worse in the back. And it seemed like there was a lot of intimidation going on there, and not just from the people at the table. There was a Democrat operative that came up to me and said, who are you? What do you think you're doing here? And I asked him, oh, who are you? What is your name? I don't have to tell you anything. I don't have to tell you anything. And that was the MO for the whole day. I don't have to tell you anything. I don't have to tell you who I am. I don't have to tell you my affiliation, but you have to tell me everything. Who are you? That's how it was all day.
Hmm. How many times do you think that happened to you?
Which part?
How many interactions like you just described where people were coming
Several
interrogating you?
more towards the end of the day that I was there at those rear tables.
Okay. Roughly how many times did that happen?
Half dozen, somewhere in there.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to tell me?
Any other questions?
No, that's all I've got. Well, actually, one more.
Yeah.
Did anybody offer you any kind of compensation or payment for coming to speak to us today?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.